Hour, 65 million people are bracing themselves for what President Obama called today a historic hurricane. Hurricane Irene, already throwing pounding thunderstorms in the Carolinas with an eye on D.C., believe it or not, New York City, and even Boston. The latest on this storm this hour, a Category 2 with winds of 100 miles per hour. Let's go straight to CNN's national correspondent Susan Candiotti live at Smith Point Park in New York. Susan is ahead of this storm. What's the latest?
Well, the latest is that we're here on the eastern end of Fire Island, which is a barrier island, as you know, Sam, that protects the south shore of Long Island, and mandatory evacuations are already in place. But boy, one of the other big stories, of course, Sam, is New York City. Already evacuations are underway there, ordered by their mayor, for affecting low-lying areas. That includes hospital and others who live in those areas. And the other big news that I don't think I can remember, and probably you can't either, that they are suspending buses, trains, and subways as of noon on Saturday because of Irene's approach.
Most of this are sentences we have never heard about a storm like this facing cities that we're talking about, and the things that Susan just said have never happened before. They've never tried to evacuate lower Manhattan in some sections before. They've never closed the entire MTA before. But there's so much more to this storm. With 65 million people, a state of emergency declared in 8 states. That's Delaware, Connecticut, New York, Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and Maryland. Let's get the latest information, since there was a brand new advisory on this, from Ken Reeves, senior meteorologist at AccuWeather.com, and a pal of mine. Ken, it's good to see you. You're a comforting face in a situation like this. Give me the latest information on this storm, and then let's kind of discuss its health.
Certainly. Well, Sam, it is good to see you again. And I think the main thing about this is that at this time yesterday, we were concerned it might still be a major hurricane. It is down to a 2, and it has shown a little bit of vulnerability during the course of the day today. It has been moving to the north over the more recent hours at about 14 miles an hour, heading toward the North Carolina coast, where it will make a landfall tomorrow morning without a doubt. Now, from that point, it really becomes somewhat interesting as to where it will end up going if you're tracking the center of it. In terms of its actual effects, I'm not sure it really matters whether it's 20 miles to the west of the shoreline or 20 miles out over the Atlantic. It is heading up along the eastern seaboard and will pass probably within 50 miles of New York City.
And Ken, I just want to get this out of the way too, because now that we've been talking about this storm for such a long time, there are people who kind of have hurricane burnt out or burnout on this storm, and they really don't believe that this is going to be an impact on the entire coast. And whether you're in Delaware, or whether you're in New Jersey, or whether you're in Long Island, and even if you're in Rhode Island and you're in Connecticut, and I can keep going all the way up the coast of Maine, but they really may not believe us. Can you give us some assurance that this storm really is on its path and there's nothing really changing it?
Yeah, this storm is going to bring impactful weather to the major cities all the way from Washington, D.C. up through New York, some more than others. Now, I think the one thing we're going to have to watch for, Sam, is that as it makes its landfall and it maybe reemerges or runs along the coast, it's probably going to get down to a Category 1 hurricane. And I think even maybe be as low as a tropical storm when it passes by New York City. But that shouldn't really matter in the overall scope of things. For most people, it's going to be the amount of rain falling. There's not going to be a huge storm surge. I know a lot of people were concerned about inundation from storm surge. This is not the kind of storm that can produce a storm surge in Manhattan.
It is no longer. Right, exactly.
Right. Yeah, and now if you're talking about someplace like Brooklyn or maybe in parts of Staten Island, you know, maybe there could be a little bit more of a concern there for an initial surge as it comes up. But it'll be a weakening storm. It will not be a major hurricane at that point. But that doesn't mean we should take it lightly. There'll still be wind gusts in excess of 50 miles an hour, maybe as high as 70 miles an hour. There's going to be huge quantities of rain, probably over 6 inches. And, you know, just the stuff that's going to be out and about, blowing around, there's going to be a lot of damage and certainly millions of people without power.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think